Welcome to 3 Words Can Stop a Scam, a basic survival podcast for anyone looking to avoid scams and deceptive marketing. I'm Dave Grillo. For 20 years, I coordinated a consumer awareness and fraud prevention program for the Shrewsbury Council on Aging in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. I now volunteer for a senior citizen fraud helpline. I am not a professional, but I do obsess over how I can help keep fraud and scams from hurting people, especially the innocent and vulnerable. Maybe through this podcast, I'll even help you. Episode 1 will introduce the 3 words and explain their importance. Subsequent podcast episodes will discuss the things that we all do to get ourselves in trouble. And I will specifically look at how we are tricked while watching television, while using our phones and the internet, when we answer the door, look at our mail, when we donate, and when we invest. I believe that just 3 words can help you to be safer. So please join me as I offer a simple guide to avoiding scams and deceptive marketing. Episode 7, Charities, Subscriptions, and some other things. There is a famous quote that goes, "What you give comes back to you tenfold." It gets at that feel-good benefit you receive when you give to improve the lives of others. Charities rely on your generosity in order to do their work. And we feel good when, by simply writing a check, we envision others will be fed, sheltered, clothed, educated, consoled, receive medical care, get legal help, and so on. But you can be forgiven if you cynically believe that the quote actually means that you will receive 10 times the solicitations from other charities as a result of your gesture to one. Okay, you gave in good faith, hopefully to a legitimate charity that utilizes most of your donation to provide needed services. And I'll get into that more later. But you then get bombarded with requests from various other charities. How did that happen? The fundraisers for many charities sell your name to other charities as an additional way to raise money. And they don't always clearly disclose, or at least make it obvious, that they do this. The fact that you do give is valuable information. No doubt they are grateful for your gift, but they need money from many sources to stay viable. Once you establish that you are generous enough to respond to one appeal, maybe you can't resist responding to others. So, your name is passed along, and, in a way, an additional donation results from the selling of your name. You are now considered a possible, if not likely, donor by other groups. You are flooded with requests from a whole host of other providers. Here, I will briefly mention political donations because of this one similarity with charities. Once you give, the requests keep coming. And the political ones seem even more constant and recurring. Where does that money actually go? In May, the New York Times reported that 5 different nonprofit groups that raise funds for political candidates raised $89 million, purportedly to give to the campaigns of candidates that support police, firefighters, and veterans. But less than 1% was spent on supporting those campaigns. The rest was used for unrelated, often personal expenses. So the problem, according to the Times, there is no oversight. It is within the purview of the IRS, but they don't spend time on it. So, political fundraising is really an unregulated practice. Is that what you expected from your good faith gesture? The point is, it is hard to know how your money is utilized, if you do care at all. Now, back to charities. Undoubtedly, many well-meaning donors write a check, then cross their fingers with the hope that most, if not all, of the full amount of that check will directly benefit people in need. It sometimes doesn't. Some charities do much better than others at putting your money to work. This is where the 3 words can help. The first word, stop, can temper your impulse to give simply because your heartstrings are being strummed or your conscience challenged. The second word, verify, compels you to learn what you can about the credibility and business sense of those requesting your help. You verify by using resources, the third word. Several resources strive to provide independent oversight of charities by reviewing their missions, practices, effectiveness, and, most useful to you, how they use your money. Personally, I have found Charity Watch, one word, Charity Watch, vital to my own giving. Since I want my donations to go to well-vetted charities that make the most of my dollars, Charity Watch has led me to several good ones. For example, if I'm interested in supporting veterans, Charity Watch gives high ratings to Homes for Our Troops, the Gary Sinise Foundation, the National Military Family Association, and many others for devoting very little of dollars donated to overhead while providing quality services. On the other hand, the Disabled Veterans National Foundation and Help Heal Veterans rank poorly, along with several others, for using very little of donated funds for services. You can access Charity Watch, again, that's one word, Charity Watch, at charitywatch.org or by phone at 773-529-2300. Other worthwhile overseers of charities are Give, a service of the Better Business Bureau with a website give.org, and there is also Charity Navigator at charitynavigator.org. Your state's Attorney General's office or other government consumer agency can also be contacted to see if there is a nonprofit organization and public charities division that oversees all charities, big and small, doing business in your state. And if one of your reasons for giving is for the tax deduction, the IRS's website can help. On irs.gov, you can search to see if donations to your charity of choice are eligible for a deduction. One strategy charities use to entice you to give is to first give you something. They send labels, writing pads, possibly clothing, among other things. I'm not saying this is devious. Basic psychology suggests that you may be moved to give if you first get. Motivations aside, know that you can legally keep anything you receive that you didn't request without any obligation to donate. Does that help ease your conscience? So, is it a legitimate charity or a credible-sounding scam? It can be hard to tell. This question needs to be considered all of the time, but especially any time there is a large-scale tragic event or natural disaster. Crooks are adept at exploiting our desire to help in such instances. With names that sound just like ones we all know, in well-crafted marketing, scams compete with legitimate charities, especially in times of crisis. Using the resources mentioned earlier and carefully checking names, phone numbers, and email addresses for exactness might help you separate the legitimate from the fraudulent. One more thought. There are those of you who torment yourselves over how many charities and charitable appeals you should respond to. You might already give to some or many, and then again when the next request lands in your mailbox or email, and then the next, and so on. Whether or not your budget can withstand your generosity, your compassion is commendable. But no matter how much you give to however many charities, you alone cannot alleviate the need. How about this? Consider pooling your charity money and pick just 2 or 3 to help in a more substantial way. That at least helps those 2 or 3 more. And again, Charity Watch, Give, Charity Navigator, and your state's charity watchdog can guide you to good ones. I'm now going to take a little time to talk about subscriptions. As a subscriber to magazines, newspapers, and other periodicals, you may be led to believe that you especially are receiving quote-unquote discount pricing that is not available to the general public. Surely, as a subscriber, you are likely to get better pricing than a non-subscriber. But the general public is really only another way of saying non-subscribers. So keep that in mind. And if year after year you are offered discount pricing, that pricing is relative to what the occasional buyer has to pay. My point? A subscriber usually does pay less than a non-subscriber. But the term discount pricing doesn't necessarily mean you get value for what you do pay. It's simply a marketing tactic. If you are so inclined, there may be a better option, and it's free. Your local library. Check to see if your favorite magazines, newspapers, and other periodicals can be borrowed from there. When it comes to subscriptions, I have found that I can't trust my memory when dealing with those constant renewal notices I receive. For instance, one newsletter I have subscribed to for years has an ending subscription date in August. I started getting renewal notices in January. If I hadn't developed a useful system to keep track of such things, I might have been compelled to send in payment right away out of concern that I would miss the next issue. Many publications use this tactic, which may or may not be intended to catch us off guard. I keep track of all my subscriptions because I prefer to pay later, not now. Another slippery billing issue comes up not only with magazines and periodicals, but also with membership clubs like AAA and AARP. I've learned that sales departments and billing departments can be 2 distinct entities that don't communicate with each other. I was actually told that by a AAA customer service representative. The way this affects us is when we continue to receive payment due notices months after we have made payment. So what billing knows, sales possibly doesn't, at least for a while. The late notices keep coming even after your check is cleared. This is why I suggest that you not only document, but also keep tabs on your subscriptions so you don't end up writing out unnecessary checks. Be especially vigilant when you subscribe to online services like Amazon Prime and any of the others. They are easy to join, but can be frustratingly difficult to get out of. Read the fine print before signing up so you understand the terms and especially the process to cancel. Otherwise, you may have a fight on your hands. Speaking of fights, the first line of defense for most businesses and agencies, other than real small ones, is the customer service department. Although anger may work sometimes, generally a calm, respectful approach will serve you better when engaging there. Consider, the customer service representative is a middleman or woman who must deal with insults, swears, rage, and even hate. Your kindness and understanding of their position may move them to go the extra mile for you. If you are dissatisfied with their response, simply ask, "What would you do if you were me?" I've actually been able to extract empathy and, as a result, satisfaction in a few instances with that question. Be clear on what you want and ask for it in a concise way. Ask for a supervisor if you are not satisfied. When speaking with someone from an overseas call center, ask for a United States supervisor if you have difficulty understanding the responses or if you are dissatisfied in any way. keep going up the corporate chain if necessary. Some companies respond to criticism and bad reviews on social media. Some don't. So that may or may not work for you. The bottom line for businesses, they need you to survive. They are well aware of that. Your satisfaction is paramount. So, if you are reasonable and respectful, they will oblige in order to keep you happy. And if you're happy, maybe you will spread the word about your positive experience. One last point about customer service. If you have a track record as a reliable customer, you may find it quite easy to get fees and penalties waived, or lower interest rates on your credit accounts, or even consideration of your request that falls outside of company policy. Ask. Always ask. Even if you are a new customer, ask. In my experience, it is worth the ask more times than it isn't. Now a little bit on extended warranties. Generally, they are a waste of money. Many products come with warranties. And if you use a credit card when you purchase them, your card may provide benefits beyond the initial warranty period. That is something to review when deciding how you will pay for your purchase. Most items are reliable. They will last beyond the time your purchased warranty covers. Repairs, when needed, tend to be cheaper than the premiums you'll pay over time for warranty coverage. And coverage itself may be limited, with exclusions and deductibles that the salesperson may avoid telling you about. Without an extended warranty, you can still appeal to customer service or higher up the chain of command for relief, especially if the product's life turns out to be unreasonably short. A possible better solution? Set up a separate fund to cover things such as products that fail or services that are needed. You will then still have access to your money when things don't fail, and you won't have lost it to premium payments that are forever unavailable to you. My last topic is artificial intelligence. It is relatively new, it's exciting, and it's scary. Scary in that by using voice cloning, it can take a sample of your actual voice and create audio of what appears to be you saying things that you would never say. This audio can be so realistic that even you and those closest to you believe it is you talking. One implication has already played out. Voice cloning has been used in actual kidnapping scams, where the voice of the supposed victim was used in contacts with loved ones to extract ransom money. Of course, there were no kidnappings, just cunning crooks successfully defrauding frightened family members or friends. Artificial intelligence can also generate authentic-looking fake body images. This provides potential for the next generation of romance, grandparent, and other impersonation scams. The 3 words might help here as well. Stop. Anytime you are faced with a situation where you are told that something bad has happened and you must pay immediately to resolve it. The caller's sense of urgency or a demand that you don't tell anyone else, and of course, any demand for money now are sure signs of fraud. Ask for a phone number and say you'll call back, even though the caller will likely threaten harm to the supposed victim. So you've stopped. Good job. Now verify. Surely it can be difficult to keep your wits in the moment, but verify, the second word, wants you to call the supposed kidnapped, injured, or arrested child, spouse, friend, or whoever. Or if you can't reach them, contact someone else who might know where they are before sending money that you will likely never retrieve. A sure sign that it's a scam is the caller will discourage you from reaching out to resources, The third word. This behavior on their part is a sure signal to reach out to your resources anyway. Next time, the 3 words, a final look.